First up, at UFC Sao Paulo, we have Marc Diakiese taking on Kaue Fernandes. Marc Diakiese, 16-7 overall, 2-3 in his last 5. He is riding an unfortunate 2-fight skid. He's taking on Kaue Fernandes. He's 8-1 overall, 4-1 in his last 5. He's making his UFC debut. Kaue's a name that you're not going to see
very often. Is that how you say it?
I've heard all the tape I watched. Each announcer said it differently. So I'm going with Kaue.
It looks like a Caillou to me or something. Caillou.
Literally 3 different announcers said it differently, so I'm just going with what. Honestly, I'm probably going to pronounce it 3 different ways this breakdown. But anyway, Kaue Fernandes is a loose, powerful striker. He's going to bounce around on his toes, stay on the outside of the pocket. Then he's going to lunge in with the speed, the power. He is from that Novignao fight camp. If you're familiar with Renan Barão and a lot of those old school fighters from that camp, he fights very similarly. He's going to have some flashy striking, but then also be primarily a grappler with some solid takedowns and some solid jiu-jitsu. He is comfortable in the striking. He can tame things down, but he'll be a little wild at times. When he's focused, you can count on him to be technical. He's fighting Marc Diakiese. Marc Diakiese is an interesting guy because he started his career as a kickboxer. He has a kickboxing background. He was always a striker. Then one day he was supposed to fight a Vyacheslav Borshev, and he decided he was going to be a wrestler. He took Vyacheslav down what looked like 150 times, had success, and then he just kept doing that. He's like, oh, this is a lot easier than striking with people. So he has turned into a wrestler. When he used to strike, he would work in the leg kicks, work in the body, and then come to the head and try to slow you down with all of that work. Now, this guy has 21 takedowns in his last 4 fights with 29 minutes of control time. He went from a fun British striker to a good old-fashioned wet blanket American wrestler. But it's been working for him outside of his last 2 fights. Right now, Marc is a -122 favorite. It is closing on itself. He opened at -175. It's starting to tighten a bit, and I actually get it. I'm on the other side. I like Fernandes to get the win here. I think the reality is that Marc's going to be trying to grapple a little too much, and Fernandes should have some decent takedown defense, should have good enough Brazilian jiu-jitsu to not get held down the whole time or get submitted, and he's going to have some wild striking. So I'm going to go with Fernandes here. I'm pretty confident in him. He is a UFC debut, which is a bit worrisome, but the pick is more about the lack of confidence I have in Marc than it is about, the tape I've seen on Kaue Fernandes. But the pick is going to be Fernandes. What do you think, Jakey boy?
Yeah, I think I'm on your side on this one. I wish I would have been on it a little bit earlier, did my research earlier, because if I would have got that +150, I probably would have been excited about it. I didn't play the money line because I don't trust it that much, but I do have a bet that I think is really good value, especially for this card and this fight. WeOwnPicks.com, become a premium member to see what that is. I think it's one of the best value on the card, to be honest with you. I'm going Fernandes because he's definitely the more dangerous fighter. I think even in the striking at this point, Marc doesn't really have the same pizzazz and power that he was showing off early in his career, as you referenced, as that former kickboxer. He did try to strike against Joel a little bit. I think he was a little bit worried about the grappling, that type of thing. If he's striking with Fernandes, I think Fernandes
spinning around in circles.
Right. If he is striking against Fernandes, I think Fernandes can not only hold his own, but win a few striking exchanges. He's dangerous with his hands, especially with some big kicks that he throws. And like you said, if it goes to the ground, he's more than capable. The only thing that I worry about in this fight, UFC debut, in front of the home fans, Brasilia, I've seen him get tired before. And if he has an adrenaline dump in this first round and tries to really get Marc out of there, because typically Marc's a pretty durable guy, if he's trying to get Marc out of there early and he doesn't, there is a situation where Marc is able to get those takedowns in the second round. And as you said, just lay on him for the entire round, get a takedown in the third round, lay on him, and all of a sudden you have Fernandes, who dominated the first round, just lost the fight because he just kind of got worn down. He's not a guy that quits when he gets tired, but he is a guy that will kind of get tired from what I've seen. So I am going to go Fernandes here. I like the bet that I've played on it because I think he's the more dangerous fighter, but there is a world where Marc kind of sneaks out, round 2, round 3, and wins a kind of what most people would probably say a bullshit decision, but I am going Fernandes here.
Yeah, I mean, it is unfortunate that Marc went down the wrestling path, and I totally understand using it when you need to. Like when he decided to wrestle against Vyacheslav Borshev, that made a ton of sense. That guy's a nasty kickboxer.
Not only is he wrestling, but he's coming in with the double knee sleeves wrestling. I mean, that's some serious. that's Werner Janaroba type stuff there.
We usually see the opposite. We usually see wrestlers who knock somebody out and then abandon their wrestling. Where we're getting the other side of this. A striker who had some success wrestling, realized, oh, hey, not getting punched in the face is a lot easier. And that's the route he's going. But anyway, he is a pretty heavy favorite in DraftKings, despite that line tightening.
It's almost the pick 'em now. It's plus 104 now for Fernandez. So I wouldn't be surprised if that flips. Probably flips and then flips back, I imagine. That's usually how those play out.
Yeah, well, yeah, people will just bet the plus money, and it'll go back and forth. But on DraftKings, Mark's a pretty good favorite, $8,600. Frankly, when he wins with that wrestle-heavy game plan, he's worth every penny. 29 minutes of control time in his last 4 fights, as I mentioned. That scores well in DraftKings if he wins. He could honestly be a sneaky DraftKings play here because of the takedowns and all that stuff. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take the chance, especially because I think he loses. And 86 is a little rich for my blood. What do you think, Jacalotes?
I think Fernandez at 76 is going to be one of the better values on the card.
We will find out. And if you want to see the full DraftKings slate and our opinions on all of those, who you should have in your lineup, who you should fade, or even use the optimizer to build a lineup for you, WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It's only $10 a month. And UFC 295 is right around the corner.